Hello, this is John Felt, and this is the weekly water outlook for Texas. I know some of my subscribers down in Texas are looking for a little bit of rain. Actually, probably most are. Others are harvesting and probably could go without some rain for a while. I think for the most part it's been very dry. This is the rain that fell over the last week. There was a bit of rain here and there. The green was 1/2 to an inch, and that was very small coverage area, very widely scattered. Other spots, actually probably almost 50% of the state, received under 1/10 of an inch of rain. And you can see that parts of the Panhandle and southwest Texas received no rain whatsoever as far as western parts of Oklahoma. So for the most part, it was a very dry week once again. If we look at the percent of normal, you're probably tired of seeing this red, but widespread below normal rainfall. There were a couple little scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm here and there, and those brought precipitation up above normal. Those are those real small little areas of blue. There's one small area of purple, actually, that you might notice here, and that indicates fairly heavy amounts of rainfall, up to 4, 5, 6 times normal in a very, very small area in that region. Now, the drought monitor for the south shows some pockets of extreme or exceptional drought. It hasn't changed a whole lot, and I've mentioned before, this time of year, if it's going to get worse, it's going to be very slow progression compared to the middle of the summer. But you can see that, again, the most extreme drought conditions are over the Panhandle and then over a large part of Oklahoma, where that widespread extreme or exceptional drought much more significant than Texas. Now, the jet stream has been active. It's sort of been a lot of huff and puff, but for Texas, not a whole lot of impact. I've been focused this week on Hurricane Sandy, and if you would like to get information on Sandy, go to bluewateroutlook.com, and you can sign up to get notices of the briefings for that event. You could also get the latest outlook for that video outlook on my webpage, bluewateroutlook.com. I'm not going to focus so much on that, but I will say that we've had this large area, this trough of low pressure. You might remember I've been talking about this for quite some time now over the eastern U.S., and I'm going to talk a little bit about this in just a minute, a little bit more. But this week, it looks like we're going to start out with area of low pressure interacting with Sandy over the east and northeast U.S. And by the end of the week, we're going to have this pattern, sort of a broad pattern from west to east with some impulses here and there embedded in that. Now, I looked at anomalies of pressure by the end of the week. So in other words, areas that are either higher than normal pressure or lower, and they're fairly weak across the country. So what we're looking at here is going from this amplified trough over the east, starting the week, to a very sort of wishy-washy pattern west to east, nothing real strong one way or the other as we get towards the end of the week. Now, I think you might find it interesting that since for much of the month of October, we've been in an Arctic oscillation, which has been fairly strong negative, especially the last couple weeks here. And that has actually been one of the reasons why we've had that persistent and deep trough over the eastern U.S. I'll more and more be focusing on these type of factors, especially in my newsletter, the role that they have on our weather, mainly the short and medium term. Now, the forecast here, and sometimes this forecast is not the most accurate, but at least the forecast here is that as we get into November, we're going to be digging into from this negative that's been around for 2 or 3 weeks into a positive. And that's usually what they last, a couple weeks, and then we get into another pattern. That is why that upper trough that's been so persistent over the east is gradually going to break down, and we're going to get into a different pattern. For some parts of the country, that'll be significant. For Texas, not as much so. Unfortunately, this is a model of precipitation for the next week, and we only show some light precipitation over the state. Don't get too hung up on this model this far out on these small-scale features. I think overall it's going to be very similar to the last couple weeks where there could be some precipitation, but it's going to be very few and far apart, and by far the story is going to be dry. This is the next 2 weeks. The top graphic is week 1. The bottom image is week 2. And the story, again, looks very dry. There could be some, on the return flow, once we get some southerly winds in there later this week, there could be some scattered showers over the eastern part of the state. I will be updating that in my midweek briefing. That is a possibility, but I still think we're going to have a lot more red than we are blue on those percents of normal when I do this briefing next week. So anyway, the takeaway points this week. Too much rain over the northeast U.S., over Texas, not enough. The AO effect will be diminishing, and other than Sandy, which will not be affecting Texas, it looks very quiet. Thank you for listening to the weekly water outlook for Texas. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. You can reach me at john@bluewateroutlook.com. I'm always glad to hear from you if you have any questions. If not, keep tuned to Information This Week. And I will be putting out my newsletter. I'm targeting towards the 1st of November or so, the November newsletter. And finally, if you have any friends that you think might be interested in Blue Water Outlook, I'd appreciate you telling them about it. Thank you.